in Marlin, I've been helping to support the development of the Community Input Board, which seeks to get your voices into the work of shaping Hyde Park to be the community that is really inclusive and welcoming and warm for everyone. Yay! And so this morning, our agenda is pretty direct. Four things we want to do. We want the three things that we want to reconnect us to each other and to what we did last May, last spring. April, spring, last spring. How's spring? Spring is a wide range of time. And we came together, as you know, this is our second time together. We came together to really get coalesced and get some basic foundational thoughts together about how we want to see the community move forward. We have those ideas, and this time we're going to connect to that practice and build on it. We also want to share ideas together about how we build on those foundational thoughts from last year. And then we're going to, the third thing is we're going to plan some next steps. That's our foundational work today. We're here till 1:30. In just a few minutes, maybe less than that, our mayor will join us to give us remarks, along with city councilors Ruth Z. Lojeune and Ricardo Arroyo and Julia Mejia, and State Representative Brandy Fluker Oakley will be here as well to say hello to us. So what that means is that people are committed to our work. They are invested like we are. And so I want to say to you, as you're looking around the room, in a few minutes we'll do roll call, let me ask you to please give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Yes, yes, yes. Not because you're doing something great, but because your people in this community, by the way, there are 33,000 residents in Hyde.
Thank you, Marcia. And so, why are we here today? She's already described. I'd like to just give us a glimpse to how we got here. And so, Community Input Board of Hyde Park was established in October of 2020 as a result of the outcry of largely unwanted development in Hyde Park, in particular the Burger King that's on River Street. And so, from that, one of the civic leaders, Helena Tong, had organized a meeting in February of that year. And during that meeting, the idea of having a community advisory board was brought up, and everyone bought into it, including the developer. COVID hit, and everything halted. And then fast forward to October, and we said we need to get this up because development is just going to keep pressing on. And we want to help shape what goes on in our community and have a voice. And so we organized and gathered together, as Marcia said, myself, Marcia Marlin, and Helena, her neighborhood organization, East River with Barbara, as well as the Boston Prep School, Sharon, who is the former executive director, as well as Councilor Royal's office. We all gathered together and started the CIB, Community Input Board. Fast forward, we have enlarged our territory, if you will, meaning we're looking at more than just the development in that area around the shops at Riverwood, but why not all of Hyde Park? Why not all of us come together? Why not all of us work together and collaborate to shape the Hyde Park we want to see? And so that's where we are today. We're together, collaborating, shaping the Hyde Park we want to see. And so we expect to work with each other, all the public officials, law enforcement, churches, schools, organizations, and agencies. Let's do this thing, right? And so that it's not happening to us, it's happening with us. And we're front and center as the voices of all the different stakeholders, businesses and community groups, residents, as well as the churches, schools, and so forth. I like to say whether you live here, play here, pray here, eat here, travel through here, you have a seat at the table. And so that's why we're here, so that every voice matters and counts, and everybody has a seat at the table of decision making in Hyde Park. Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, what's going on? Nice to see everybody here this morning. My name is Mark, as you know. Well, some of you don't know me, but I'm the founder of the African American Academy. Check, check, check. Can you hear me?
That's better.
That's better. There's a little height. So, so I want to thank everybody for coming out here today. My role in this process has been mainly to support the research and development, data analysis, and just generally all the work that we do. This is data driven. This is not just us, coming together to put together an event to make people talk about it. We want to do something about it. So, like I said, we are a local nonprofit here in Boston. We do research development in cultural diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as restorative project management, which is the project management that builds community, repairs harm, and promotes inclusivity. I want to start. I also want to say a little quote, because today we're here to do a roadmap to the beloved community, right? That beloved community we know is Martin Luther King's dream, where he saw people, his children, joining hands with people of other races in harmony. So the quote is, "The end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. It is in this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opponents into friends. It is this type of understanding, goodwill, that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of a new age. It is this love which brings out the miracles in the hearts of men." Martin Luther King said that in a Christmas sermon. But we are here today because there's an intersection between his dream and urban planning, right? We're talking about a beloved community, so that community needs to be designed. What do we want to put in that design? What are the kind of facilities that we would like the building and development to facilitate? That is why we're here today, to build on what we did last year, because a lot of people came last year and a lot of people put in a lot of good work. So please understand, you are part of a continuation of a process. This is not the beginning and it's definitely not the end. All right. So I'm going to give you a little bit about what we've done so far. I specialize in redlining, urban renewal, and that kind of studies to see how it affected the cultures in Boston, going from the indigenous African American community. 60% of Roxbury and South End was destroyed in the 60s. And we have the building of Chinatown was cut in half by I-90. We have the destruction of the West End, right, Government Center. We also have 68,000 Jewish community members were pushed out of the Mattapan area in the late 60s. All right? This is how the ethnicities in Boston, the culture of Boston has changed because of the infrastructure. That even ties into the moving of Dudley Orange Line to Roxbury Crossing. So our research is based on what was going on in segregation during those days and what was the culture, right? In these independent, multicultural communities, because Boston has always been one of the most multicultural cities in the whole United States of America. We need to be proud of that. That is what we inherited. That's what our legacy to put on. All right. So now here in Boston, we have some food. Like she said, we started out in 2020 with this work. Started seeing that they put a Burger King next to Boston Prep Charter School. My son and daughter attended that school. We were not informed. Like she said, that was done to us. We were not brought along the process. Now, we don't know why the developer left. We're not going to know why he left. But that's not the attitude we want. We want developers to come into our community because Hyde Park is always open for business. We just want to work with this business. All right, so we did that. We put a cultural nutrition program into the school to educate our young people on cultural cuisine and some of the great restaurants we have here. Yes. We've been working with Northeastern University and our service learning department to develop out the community benefits agreement, which is available for download on our website. But yes, that work was done to find a roadmap what are some of the tools we can use as a community to try and influence what developers are doing in our community. And that was Marilyn really helped me out, get me that started. So it's a real family affair in here. Finally, we're here today to carry on that work. Add your voices to the voices that happened last year, right? And we want to thank you for attending this 2.0, but we want to please urge you to be let's be honest with our history, with our inherent past. All right, let's really be truthful to ourselves and our inherent past, because if you don't know where you're coming from, you can't know where you're going. All right, let's be fully aware of our collective present situation. All right, and finally, let's be hardworking and dedicated to all inclusive Hyde Park. Thank you very much.
Now, before we have Marcia and then ultimately Jose come up here, I just wanted to we wanted to plan to add this. We did a pre-event survey because we really wanted to hear from you all. Let's celebrate what's going on in Hyde Park over the last year or two. And so quite a number of people responded. And then we also want to give space to business owners who have been here for some years and those who have popped up in the recent year or two, and give them space to speak as well. Thank you, sir. That's family love, right? One big Hyde Park, just loving on each other, right? And so I just want to recognize, we heard from you, Hyde Parkers sharing. And so what people shared, overwhelmingly, so many people responded that the businesses have increased here. A lot more restaurants, a lot more diversity. People have just raved about the opening from Park 54 to Roundhead to Canvas Studio. People love the fact that Zaz is just multiplying itself even beyond Hyde Park. And so really excited about all the new things that are happening in Hyde Park. And so people are looking forward to the tours coming through. I saw a tour bus probably a couple of Saturdays ago, and I was like, woohoo, we got people dropping off in Hyde Park. So it's exciting. People are recognizing that Hyde Park is a place to be, a place to live, a desirable neighborhood of Boston, and that's exciting. We knew that, right? Some of you who've been here for 30, 40, 50 years. My husband and I moved here in 2007, and I feel like a long timer, even though not as long as some of you, but it is amazing neighborhood in Hyde Park. And so just hearing and reading the responses and celebrating on. And then the last major consistent message that came through the survey was people were excited about the coming together of the residents and the community stakeholders. And several people have responded. It was so great to see the different organizations and civic associations, the businesses and so forth, all come together. And so here we are. Let's keep building. Let's keep working together. Thank you.
I want to take 1 second to recognize our student here that's manning all the technology, Kamara. Please give it up for Kamara.
Tomorrow. And others of you who are in the room, I'm going to do a roll call. And you know, I'm the person who's the timekeeper, so they put me in charge of this really difficult task because there's so many beautiful faces in the room. So I'm going to do this as efficiently as possible. Here's how I'm going to do it. When I call and tourists and more business. And then finally, the brand of our community helps us build a sense of cohesion and unity and serves as a rallying point for events, activities, initiatives, and provide a shared vision of our community. So we want to build on the idea of what our brand is so that others can think about us in a certain way. Why? Because when people come to Boston, I used to work in corporate and I do some corporate consulting work. People come to Boston and professionals who make a lot of money come to Boston and they say, where should I go live? Where do you think the people steer them? Where do they steer them to? JP, thank you. Where else? Brookline, Roslyn, and why? Because of the aura of what? Attractions and safety, right? And diversity in most places anyway, not all of them, right? The idea that you live in a safe place. So we want Hyde Park to have the brand of this is a diverse community where you can also have safety, you can also have vibrance, you should also have access to activities. But we create that, people. It doesn't happen by mistake. We create that. I don't care what they tell you. We create that. So we're going to do that, build that narrative right now. At your tables, I'm going to ask you to work. You only have 5 minutes. We're not going to spend a lot of time. It's 5 minutes. Post-it note in front of you. We're going to have you write down on the post-it note the three words that come to mind. The three words that come to mind when you think of Hyde Park. And I really only want you to use 3 words. 3 words. This is a focus question, just about you, not and I want you to have them just simmer in your brain because our next gathering, we're going to have a statement about who Hyde Park is. So that we're going to rattle off our elevator speeches. Somebody says, where do you live? I live in Hyde Park and it's a community of blah, 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 blah. And that's going to sink in. And the more we say it, the more they believe it and we believe it. So here are the words, and we have the others we're going to use from your post-it notes. Gita? Okay, I'll read them out. You want to read them? Community, quiet, welcoming, Caribbean, development, convenient, diverse, environmentally rich, hardworking, green space. Ooh, someone said unsafe? Unsafe, fine, we'll take it all. Arts and entertainment, open space. So all of those things are language that you have in your brain about Hyde Park. Just think about the impact of that, wherever it lies, positive or negative. What's the impact of that? On your neighbors, on you, and the way you move about in the space. And own that. You own what it means to have community. You own what it means to have an unsafe community. You own that, by the way. If you live here and it's unsafe, you're a part of that. Don't get it twisted.
Can we
If you
have
want
a
to make
definition for that, please?
okay, sure. Who said unsafe and who's the definition? Yes, please. Well, we don't want to put people on the spot, but we just want to hear some more. We just want to know what you mean by unsafe. When you say unsafe, what do you mean?
There have been, just where I live, 3 robberies.
Coming to the stage to share some words and get us going on our assets.
Good morning. Good morning. For those of you who watch, I move, so I don't know if I'm in front of the camera. I apologize, but you will hear my voice, I hope. Thank you so much, those of you at home watching. Listen, first and foremost, let me say that for us being here today, there are a few things that I hope that we acknowledge. First and foremost, that even though we're here on May 20th, 2023, there's a long history of people who were here before us. Specifically, we have to acknowledge that we are on hollow ground because the indigenous people of this state of Massachusetts occupied this space before anyone else did. And it's because of them that we have to acknowledge that those ancestral spirits are still with us today to guide us as we make our decisions and suggestions and collaborations this morning. So I just want us to be cognizant that May 20th, 2023 is the day that we're here, but there's a rich history of people before us who laid the groundwork for us to be here. As they say, we are on the shoulders of giants who made it possible for us to continue this great work of community in our beloved community. Are you with me? Are you with me? So I'm just going to take a few minutes before I share some thoughts to bring, and let me acknowledge somebody who's here who's one of my heroes. Do you all know this person here? Do you know this person?
Hi everyone, State Rep Brandon Kluger Oakley. I have parts of Hyde Park, Mattapan, Dorchester, and Milton, and happy to be here. See so many neighbors and leaders and folks who care about our community. So thank you, Jose.
Thank you. Love this person. Love this person. We are blessed because we have not only someone like a representative, we have so many leaders, both elected officials, appointed officials, people like you in our community. Hyde Park is rich when it comes to that. I say we are the epicenter of so much power in this community that we should all every day walk proud with our heads up high, knowing that even the challenges that we have are challenges that this community can turn around and make it positive. And it's people like our representatives that make that possible. So I'm going to take just 2 minutes to bring a couple people up, and then I want to share some words, and then by that time I think the mayor will be here. April 2022, we gathered here, and there was a young man at that time who joined us just to listen, just to observe, just to connect. A year later, if you go to the Westinghouse building, which is on the other side, you will see a business called Roundhead. Have you been there? Have you been there? Craig Panzer, come on up. I'm going to ask Craig just to take 2 minutes. If you don't know him, this is who he is. He's got a partner who he's going to mention in a minute. Why is it you wound up at the Westinghouse building with this fantastic location that you have now that is thriving in so many different ways? Tell us quickly in 2 minutes the story of how you landed and why you landed and how it's going.
Sure. Thank you. I'm humbled to be able to share this story with you all and you all handing the mic to me. One story that comes to mind, we 2 years ago in June released our first beer at Westinghouse Plaza. We were able to brew it somewhere else, bring it to the house, or it's still waiting for construction. And I guess what I'm here to do is testify to a lot of what has been said already in that popcorn style talk about Hyde Park. So here's a case of beer, bring it to a car, meeting someone the first time. One of 300 people that invested up to $300 in the brewery. People that I never met, right? The $100,000 that we needed to open Massachusetts' first Latino-owned brewery happened because community came forward and made ends meet for us to build out this beautiful space in Hyde Park. So this woman comes from her car and she comes up to me and she says, "I don't even drink beer. I'm just glad that you're here," right? That welcoming spirit as a business owner is second to none, right? Everything else that we heard in terms of being multicultural, what we heard about diversity, what we heard about the green space here in Hyde Park, that's what brought me to Hyde Park. Being able to bike, right? Talking to a mentor, say, hey, wherever you choose for business, make sure you enjoy going there every day. What's that ride like? I can bike here in 15 minutes, right? That makes joy in my day. Less traffic, more being in places with people where I want to be. So I think that spirit of community and our mission at Roundhead, which is cerveza que reúne, beer that brings us together, because that's the point. The beer is the starting point. Pizza, as a starting point, it's nothing without you all there. It's nothing, right? It's that sunset that I'm by myself has so much less meaning. So being able to do that here at Hyde Park and bring people together, that's the joy, folks. And doing it with a team. I see team members in the audience that are here today because they're prideful of Hyde Park. And I hear it and feel it and love it. And proud to get off to the brewery in 5 minutes to open shop.
Thank you so much. A year later, if you haven't stopped by, they have great pizza. I don't drink beer, but the pizza is fantastic. And just the ambiance is fantastic as well. But that's one of the assets that we now have in this community. And when you think about assets, think about four legs of the stool. What do we have that's nature? What do we have that has been made by human beings? What are the organizations that are civic, social, public, private, and spiritual that make up who we are? That's an asset. Another asset we have right across the street, Orly Roberts. Do you know this young man? Have you been into his shop? If you haven't been into his shop, you're missing something good. And it's right here in the center. And again, I'm asking for a few minutes. Why here? And how's it going?
Thank you, I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. This is my 11th year, so it's been a journey. Definitely, when I first opened Zaz, I remember when I came here, I had my awning, black awning, I had the whole interior decorated, and everyone was like, why you spend all this money in Hyde Park? You should be on like Newbury Street. I'm like, no, this I will make my Newbury Street here. You know what I'm saying? So from my background, how I grew up, where I came from, I make the best of everything. So I knew right away I had a concept, I had food that I believed was going to make some noise in the neighborhood and throughout the city. And over the past few years, we've had the opportunity to grow our business. We opened a second location in City Hall. We're on our way to open a third location in Seaport in the next 2 months. We've had the pleasure to have this be the flagship and the original, the mothership location, serving a lot of people of importance, like the mayor, from the celebrities, from athletes, and so forth. So, like, I take a lot of pride in the passion of what I do, and so it's paying off. I'm grateful for this community.
So we just want to highlight those two, because when all of those notes you wrote about branding Hyde Park, think about all the assets that we have that make this a thriving community. Right across the street, we have a bank. Right across the street, we have the River Theater Works. Right across, we have so many things we have to think of as how do they enrich this community. This morning when I woke up, I'm going to be 73 in August. 73. God willing, if I'm healthy, I'll celebrate 73 years on earth. And I share this often because I don't take this lightly. I am at the time in my life, and I've been so for a while, where I realize I have more yesterdays than tomorrows, more past than future. I know that. I'm not the young ones. I'm not the bright ones that the long road is ahead. I know that with every single day, I've got to embrace my breath wholeheartedly, because I can never assume that tomorrow is guaranteed. So that means that every single morning when I wake up, I'm thankful for the blessings I receive. And I know that every single morning when I wake up, I need to embrace the idea that I'm living a purpose-living life. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that beautiful woman who's next to me, my wife Davina, who's been my partner for 48 years, who's helping. The mother of my children, by the way, my youngest son, Jose Fabio, is celebrating his birthday today. So we are in a celebratory mood. I am blessed that every morning she wakes up early, goes downstairs, I sleep, and before you know it, she comes upstairs, quietly lets me know she has a fresh cup of coffee for me, and she gives me a kiss, con sabor a café, which means a kiss with a taste of coffee. That's how she starts off my morning. I just smile and say, Lord, what did I do to deserve this beautiful angel? And the Lord says, whatever you've done, enjoy it. But that sets the tone for me, because what it says to me that the Lord up above and my ancestral spirits who guide me through my journey are giving me these blessings for me to do something with it. So I quickly go into my morning prayer, my morning meditation, which many of you do as well. And I sit there and I quietly ask, may this day be one in which whatever I say, whatever I do, whatever I think, whatever I feel are in sync. Whatever I say, whatever I do, whatever I feel, whatever I think are in sync. Let this be a day where I have an opportunity to engage with other people who are like-minded, of thinking that we want to leave this place much better than what it was when we were born. Much better than what it was when we were born. People who are not thinking only about ourselves, but thinking about future generations. The indigenous communities of the Northeast would always make decisions based on 7 generations in the future. They would think, what are we doing today that will impact 7 generations from now? So therefore, we have to be cognizant that we have a responsibility for the future. So I ask that I have the opportunity to gather with other people who think that way. What are we doing today that's going to make a positive impact for future generations? And in particular for our children, so that they will be healthy, not just physically healthy, but emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, culturally healthy, intellectually healthy, socially healthy, economically healthy, spiritually healthy. I ask that. And today is that type of opportunity because we've gathered, I think, with the same agenda. And I close my meditation and prayers, taking a deep breath of peace and breathing out love. And I say, Lord, whatever blessings, whatever happiness I receive today, let it not be a consequence of somebody else's misery. Let it not be as a consequence of somebody else's misery. So I share that with you because I believe that the purpose of us being today and the call to action of all of us is to not just think about our Hyde Park of today, May 20th, 2023, but to think about the Hyde Park 7 generations from now. So whatever we come up with, whatever suggestions that might be the solutions to challenges, whatever ideas that might continue to uplift all the great things this community has to have and has, think along the line of how will it impact 7 generations from now? Because like I said, tomorrow is not guaranteed. More past than future, where yesterday's and tomorrow. And so therefore, every single day I'm on earth, like Muhammad Ali said, don't count the days, make the days count. Don't count the days, make the days count. And so we've been asked today to make sure that this day counts. That as a collective, unified, diverse group of stakeholders of this community, what we do today will forge the next steps of our journey. Are you with me? Yes. Are you with me? Yes. Are you with me? Yes. Let's do this with love. Let's do this with respect. Let's do this with transparency and openness to others' ideas, concerns, thoughts, suggestions, because we're here to embrace all of us as being part of the solution, not part of the problem. Are you with me? Yes. Will you say hello to our esteemed, dear City Councilor at Large, Ruthie Lujan, who's right there now. I'm going to hand the mic back to my dear colleagues here and friends. Huh? That's it. I'm going to keep the microphone. So here's the deal. You can define asset any way you want, but I would like you to take some time now. How much time do we have, Nikita? 10 minutes? Take 10 minutes and put on those pads what you see as being the assets that Hyde Park has. And that can range, like I said, I live right about Crane Ledge, open space. My wife and I bought our property, our home, 48 years ago? 45 years ago? 45 years ago. 45 years ago, we bought our home. Crane Ledge is right behind our home. Open space. That's an asset. That's one of the reasons why we bought that home. So I consider that as an asset. And there are other things. We're standing in an asset, this building, and the infrastructure that makes this building work. The YMCA right next to me, that's another asset. The bank I mentioned is another asset. The businesses, another asset. The schools, another. You just name whatever comes to your mind as being an asset for Hyde Park. And don't just think Cleary Square. Think from the borders of Mattapan all the way to Reedville to JP Rosendale. What are those assets? And momentarily, we're going to have our honorable mayor, who has joined us this morning, Michelle Wu, who's in the house. The mayor will be speaking shortly. Please use those little pads that we gave you. And just list whatever assets you think this community has to offer. If any of you own dogs, if there's a dog park, put the dog park as an asset. Well, then put that down. Asset dog, need dog park. Do you prefer that? What do you prefer?
Yeah, I prefer that because we were just doing that because we're not.
Okay. So you want me to move over there? You want me to move over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, here, take this mic there.
Right.
That mic's on, right?
It's not on yet.
Check, check, check. So in about 2 minutes, I'm going to ask, similar to how we did it before, popcorn style, each table to have 1 or 2 people give us what they see as being the assets that we have in Hyde Park.
Why are you talking? Get some food. Got some food over here. Let's go away.
Want me to join your table? Yes. Good tea. So 1 more minute. You can share amongst yourselves what are some of the assets you believe we have in Hyde Park.
Look up, sir.
Thank you.
We're ready. You can bring them back to the table.
Okay, so here's what I like to do before we bring the Honorable Mayor Michelle Wu to the podium. If I can have from each table, 1 or 2 folks share with us what are some of the assets that your table has listed, and we'll go around table by table. I'm going to start, since you're closer to me, am I right? Could this table be kind enough to have 1 or 2 people just share some of those assets, please? Stand up, introduce yourself. And before you do that, do we have a mic that we can share there, Malcolm?
A mic?
Do we have a mic?
I got it. I got it. Is it working? Mic. Is it working? All right, ready? Alicia.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. We have green space, historic landmarks like the 54 Regiment, bike paths, not on street, and public transportation. Even though we know the MBTA needs to work, there's still great accessible public transportation here in Hyde Park.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Big round of applause for this table, please. Second table down here. Share a few for us. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Marilyn Smith Parku. I'm like you. I'm in my final quarter.
There you go, sister. We'll get there.
I'm putting all of it on the table. So a big asset is the Neponset River. You think of it, think of me. Yay to the EPA team back here. Yep. I've already made them part of my family.
All right. Okay?
And then the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
We listed some what we thought were potential assets because we're making some assumptions. Here, the theater.
Yep.
The Y.
Yep.
Because we're talking about youth. We don't have a facility that's responsive to our youth, right? And the Sprague Pond. I'm really going down my list. I have to be more inclusive. Did you have anything? The Muni, right here.
Yeah.
Man, I work out 2 days a week here. That's great. Because I'm in it to win it. What's this one? Homes and Neighbors. And we do have a preponderance of schools, mostly charters, but we may think about schools differently as well, because there's something called public education. Language diversity. I think that's good.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Next table.
So our table came up with, we have a social thing, public transportation, history, access, unity and diversity, and location.
Amen. Love it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right here, front. Yes.
Good morning. Sorry, I can't stand. Our assets are the commuter rail stations, proximity and parking, the African American history with the 54 Regiment, parks and local restaurants and businesses, the YMCA, and it's a canvas for the imagination. So,
Nice. Nice. I like that one.
Candidate, that's what we should go.
I like that one. I like that
Where
one.
should I go next time?
Yep, right there. John Stick. Barbara?
Barbara Hamilton, Easter Street Neighborhood Association, Hyde Park resident in the family since 1912. And so what does Hyde Park have to offer? Lots. I wrote a strong sense of community, which we're gathered here today, and green trees and backyards, and we want to keep it that way. We want to keep it that way. Of course, the Neponset River was also mentioned, the River Theater Works, schools, commuter rail, buses, woodland areas, people, music, and arts and growth. And that's all our table offers.
All right, no, we love it, love it. Thank you. Our last table right here in front, please.
Hi, I am Neri. I believe the Hyde Park has everything.
All right.
I look at
All
it,
right.
oh my God, we got everything. We got school, churches, beautiful natural areas, good restaurants, supermarkets, easy transportation. We have gyms, golf course, a lot of beauty salons, ladies. We have everything. We have everything.
Thank you. Thank you. So, if we look at our assets, and we just mentioned a few, obviously, if we did this exercise for the whole day, we'll probably come out with a list of 100. But if we look at these assets from the point of view, how do we leverage these assets to address where we can do better? If we look at these assets from the point of view, this is like building a home where we decide that we want to expand our home to add another room. We first start off with what are the assets we have to make that possible, right? We don't start off by saying we can't do that room because we don't have. We start off by saying we can do the room because we have X, Y, and Z available to us to add that room to the home we're building. So the asset building exercise is one, not to think about our community from deficits, but to think from our community of what are the assets, what is the vision we have for our community, what do we need as a plan to make that vision a reality, and who are the people we need in place to make that plan function. So it's a vision, which is hopefully what we are creating and continuing to create here. It's asset building, knowing what the assets are that we have in hand. It's a plan and who are the right people to make this plan happen. And I think if we look at it from that perspective, it's more than appropriate that the person who's going to address at this moment is our mayor. Because if there's someone who has some of those assets available for us to leverage, it's the city of Boston. in conjunction with our elected city councilors and our state reps and senators in the congressional delegation. But it's also all of us who will make these assets rise to make sure that we uplift the things that we have. We mentioned we're in the Mooney building. So when you think about the Boston Center for Youth and Families and their engagement with youth and families, what's the perspective? How is it being done to leverage those young kids that we spoke about before so they can put their hands in the ground and know about the earth and what it produces as far as sustainability via food? What does it add to the table if they have a program that says all of our children should know how to swim? What does it add to the table if we have a program that says every single kid, from the moment they can, should learn how to ride a bike? What does it add to the table if we say, you know what, they should know about arts and culture? And what does it add to the table if we say, and they should be physically active? So the assets that make that possible, in many ways, we're fortunate to have a mayor who sees those visions as a reality of what we can do. So will you please welcome, and I want to mention Isaac Yablo. Where are you? Say hello to that young man right there. If you don't know him, get to know him. Get to know him. Isaac, tell him what you do real quick, loud. There you go. Maria, is that your name? Get to know that young man. All right, get to know him. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome this morning? We are so honored that the mayor is with us and has joined us, the Honorable Michelle Wu.
Good morning, Hyde Park. You see, this is Senor Masso on a Saturday. This is me on a Saturday. Sorry. I could have upped it a little bit if I knew I was going to be following him on the program. But I've had a full day already. First, there was the first day of getting the kids all, where's their soccer shin guards and everything to get out the door, and then the other game, and then now out, able to have some time with community and the best part of this job. So I just want to say thank you because, as you heard, we at the city are really trying to move forward wherever we can with a mantra of we don't need to settle. We don't need to settle for just surviving as communities. And there's a lot out there now. Every corner of our city, there's still tremendous stress, and the issues we all can run through around housing affordability and jobs and transportation and education. We are focused on making sure that the city is doing everything possible on all those fronts. But as you heard, our goal is also to move the conversation beyond just how do we make sure you don't get displaced? How do we make sure you don't have a flood or a storm come and destroy all of our property? Let's focus on what the ideal is, what the assets are in our community, what the dreams are in our community, and then how to build beyond that so that when we talk about kids, it's not just about excellent schools. That is the baseline. I will use every ounce of energy that I have as a mom with kids in the Boston Public Schools, with our allies and partners on the city council and the school committee and the school department to make sure that we are going to lead the country on public education. But the conversation cannot stop at just what we think about checking the box for kids, right? It is about how do we make sure they are plugged into everything that is possible for them to grow in the city. Ride a bike, swim, arts, sports, get your hands dirty in the dirt. That is our promise to families in Boston. If you're raising your kids here, they're going to get everything they need to be happy, healthy, whole people.
Yes, yes.
And that's the approach we're trying to take in every area. How do we make sure that we're creating more housing that's, yes, affordable, actually affordable for people who live in our communities now, but also building communities, having spaces that are possible for multi-generational families to stay together, for kids to be in a space that's not just one bedroom, but has the space that a family needs, is connected to green space nearby and the energy efficiency so that you're not having to spend all your money paying utilities because your building is so energy efficient. There's everything that we do, we want to think of as interconnected. And that is why I believe that neighborhoods are really the foundational building block in Boston. Neighborhoods are where you get the chance to look across every one of these issues and how they are part of a fabric. Sometimes I will say, people are like, our democracy, everything is at risk. What do we do? I've always said, I think the lowest hanging fruit, the fastest thing you can do to spark saving our democracy, as sometimes dramatic as that sounds, is having a block party. Because when you can get people together who look different from each other, who might worship differently from each other, who might vote differently from each other, but who have a stake in the same sense of place, of community, that is how you get to this. And so we are, the data show, okay, and I'm also only supposed to be here for a minute. I'm on my soapbox. I'm going to step right down. The data shows that one of the biggest differences between 30, 40 years ago and now is that, one, our society is more segregated than ever, not just by race, but by educational, by degree of education that families have had, by socioeconomic background. Our kids 30, 40 years ago used to be exposed to a whole wider range of people because our neighborhoods used to be much more multi-income, multi-generational, multiracial. The other big difference is that we know our neighbors far less now, in general. I'm not saying Hyde Park. In general, across everything in this country, people used to spend, on average, multiple evenings a week hanging out with their neighbors. They had the time to do so because the pay scales and inflation weren't what they are now, and you didn't have to feel like you need to work 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. They also didn't have the sort of electronic handcuffs of the iPhone and everything keeping you attached sometimes to your job or everything else. And there was just a sense of more knowing your neighbors means greater trust, means greater dreaming, means greater action collectively. And so I think the only place that we can solve what we're seeing across the country right now, a huge sense of division and mistrust and conspiracy theories, all the things that is so exhausting to read about that lead to horrible outcomes. The only place we can solve that and rebuild that trust back is at the local level, is at the block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, city level. And so I am so grateful because Hyde Park is just an example of if block parties are step one, you all are at the kind of supercharged, how do we take this into our own hands level? And we at the city want to be there to amplify and empower that. Our changes to sometimes these things don't get attention as much as big flashy announcements, but the changes we're trying to make to the zoning code, to the BPDA, to the ways that our community grows based on whether we plan together or whether we think about it just one by one, segregated and separated, that is going to be the building block of how we get the entire city to have the conversations that you're having in this room today. So please keep at it. Please hold us accountable at the city level for supporting what you are building and dreaming of today, because we need to follow your lead in this, and we need Hyde Park to continue to be the role model for so many across the city. So thank you so much for being here today. I want to just shout out again. You have some fierce, powerful advocates at every level in this community as well, who are from and know and love this community. So I want to thank Rootsy and Brandy also for all that they do.
Thank you, Mayor Wolf. So those of us can remember FUBU. You know what FUBU stands for? What's it stand for? For us, by us, about us. So I think the message for today is that you are representing your neighbors in your neighborhoods so that what Hyde Park becomes is for us and it's by us and it's about us. The exercises we will have this afternoon will allow us to do that. And I'm going to ask Lakita and Marcia to come here for a minute, because we do have two other elected officials. Yeah, I'm both here. Yeah, come here. Both here. This is organic. This is the way we work here.
Okay, we're gonna go with it. Yeah.
We're gonna go with it. So I want to take advantage because there's a little bit of power in the word, and I have a city councilor here and I have a rep. I would like to ask your permission if they could take a minute each just to build off of what the mayor says before we go into our exercise, because I think that would set context again to us looking at assets. We said people. I mentioned earlier, I think Hyde Park is the epicenter of influence and power by the people we have. Hyde Park, the epicenter of influence and power by the people we have in roles that can influence how these assets are leveraged. So I'm going to ask first and foremost, can I get my representative here first to share a few words, and then I'm going to ask City Council to do so. In the context of assets. In the episode.
Thank you, Jose. First off, I feel like Jose took us to church earlier, so it's very hard to follow. And then the mayor on her soapbox, so I feel like I was set up for failure. But I'm going to do my best. So for those who don't know me, my name is Brandy Fluker Oakley. I'm state rep. I have parts of Hyde Park, Dorchester, Mattapan, and Milton. And when I think about assets, I think about my own experiences in Hyde Park. Even though I'm from Mattapan, I had the privilege of going to Boston Latin School, and some of my closest friends lived in Hyde Park. My best friend was on Ruskindale Road, Lokita, and oftentimes her mom worked at the Bay Bank in Mattapan Square, and my mom had an office on River Street by Central Ave, headed towards Lower Mills. And literally we would take the 39 from BLS to the 32. So we're not headed towards Mattapan to go to Acropolis, which used to have the best pizza ever right there, get our slice of pizza. And then if it was a sunny day, we'd walk to Mattapan Square and I'd drop her off at her mom's job, and then I would go to my house, or we catch the 24 or the 33, depending on the weather. And so I say that to say that we had friends on West Street. My first boyfriend was on Metropolitan Ave. My other best friend later in high school lived right past Cleary Square. I remember the McDonald's being built and everything happening there. And so when I think of Hyde Park, I just think how welcoming it has been to folks who aren't necessarily from Hyde Park. And when I think about community, and when I think about the assets, and when I think about the ability for us to really see further than what is presently in front of us, so easily we can get caught up in the challenges of what's wrong with the community, of what's not being done. And very rarely do we think about what is it that I have the power to do, because I am here too. So when we talk about, oh, Hyde Park is this and insert negative adjective, it's like, wait, I am Hyde Park. So what am I doing to change the situation? How am I seeing myself as an asset, my family, my neighbors, and what little bit I can do? So I'm going to end there, Mr. Masso, and say, think about the power within you to make the changes that you want to see, and gladly pass off to my sister and Counselor Ruth C. Louis Jen.
Think about our exercise as we break out, in the sense that part of our role is to be actively engaged civically, which means, therefore, if we're going to be part of the solution, we need to engage. So that means the electoral process is part of us engaging. It means that we have to vote, because we have to vote the people we believe hold the values that we have as people in the community, and that we believe that we will support, that their work will move forward our vision that we have for the community in Hyde Park, that is inclusive, that is diverse, that is just, that is one of not just us, but all of us. And with that in mind, my esteemed, another one of my heroes, will you please welcome our city councilor?
Good morning, Hyde Park. Happy Haitian Flag Day. Happy Haitian Heritage Month. Hello. Find me at the parade tomorrow, Mattapan Square, 1 p.m. I'm the Grand Marshal this year, so follow us. I just want to say thank you, of course, Marcia, to your incredible, endless leadership, to so many leaders, Lokita, my neighbor. And speaking of my neighbor, when someone's talking about what we have here in Hyde Park, I think I told this story a lot. I became a homeowner last year, got all these like rates from online places, and was like, but let me go check my local bank. I walked into Rockland Trust and got the best rate ever. And so we need to make sure to buy Senor Masso's son's home, right? So that's where the love comes from. And so I am just grateful for the resources and the assets that we have here. But we all have to use our network to continue to grow those assets, because sometimes it's not just we can't find everything in Hyde Park. So for example, I connected Scott and the Hyde Park Board of Trades to Mass Development that has financing for our businesses that need that support, because we have great ideas, but if we're also doing the work of racial justice and racial equity, we also know that our people don't have access to the same capital to start these businesses, to really be able to put their ideas into action. So it's about that sort of connection. It's about using our offices as elected officials to think, how do we stand in the gap when things go wrong? Things that business owners did not cause. I think about Rep. Consalvo and the work that he did, at least to get some support to the businesses on the bridge who have suffered because they don't have the same pedestrian traffic. And how we work with Tien and Hyde Park Main Streets to make that a reality. The work of government is one of collaboration. And that means elected officials, community members, neighbors, parents, everyone working together to solve our problems. And so I don't see myself as anything other than a neighbor and as someone to execute on your ideas and to help build those connections. And so I hope that in this ideation of what Hyde Park can be and what it can become, that we really make sure that we bring all voices to the table, because Hyde Park is made up of a lot of people. And it's so interesting because I, as a kid, played basketball here in the Muni, and to think that I am now here helping all of you to think about what the future of our neighborhood could look like is an honor and a privilege. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak a bit, and I want to thank you for all you're doing to create a better, more resilient, more welcoming city of Boston, and how Hyde Park can really be at the center, not only of power, but of progress. So thank you.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So, we're at that moment in time where we would like to do an exercise. Let me borrow your script a second here. I keep moving from the podium. I realize there are people watching. For those of you watching from home, thank you again for joining us this afternoon. I hope that the work that we're able to accomplish in this next breakout session is one where we are able to, in many ways, come back as a group and say that we are moving forward in where we want to move, okay? So we're going to have one breakout group, session one. We're going to look at, add to the list of what those assets might be and what might be two priorities we have for Hyde Park moving forward. What might be two priorities from your point of view that we have for Hyde Park moving forward? And then from there, we will look at what might be the one priority that we will have moving forward. So that way we say, you heard the words of the mayor, what's the low-hanging fruit? What might be that one priority that we say a year from now, the work that we did on May 20th resulted in this on May 20th, 2024. Okay, so Lakita, I'm going to ask, do you want the breakout groups to stay where they are? Do you want to move? How would you like to do this? Yeah, you tell me. Yeah, you take it over.
Thank you, Jose. Isn't he awesome? Just love how neighbor Jose, myself. Really quickly, so here we are. We've heard about doing the work and being the change we want to see. And so we thank you all for being here. Now we're going to do some work. And so we're going to break out into these sessions according to topics. I'm going to ask Helena if she would help me to get the, okay, she has them up there. Never mind. Okay, she's so efficient. Here's what we're going to do. We're coming from a place of, there were groups that were established last year, in 2022. And we're going to still have those groups this year. However, we do want to first list them to you so that if you find there's a group not represented,
that you should think should be a separate breakout group, we're going to invite you to voice that now, and then we're going to break out at different tables, okay? So I'm going to come over here, moving here. The groups from last year that we're going to keep and possibly may add to are food access. We understand food insecurities and so forth. Secondly, real estate development and housing, and we're talking about affordable housing. We're not sure about that. Open space and recreation. And then we had a category of other. And then, of course, we cannot always forget our youth and families. Very important, youth and families. So again, oh, I see our Councilman Mejia here. Right there. So again, we have food, excuse me, we have food access, real estate development and housing, open space and recreation, youth and families, and then another category. Those are the groups we broke out in last year. We will break out in those groups this year. But the caveat is, I'm going to ask you, the community, right, our neighbors, is there a group not currently represented that we need to find and separate now? And if so, please raise your hand and let us know. Yes. Okay, make it broader. Sure, we can do that. So we're going to change open space to environment and conservation. So, go ahead. We'll give 5 minutes for this portion before we break out. We already had it set for 5 minutes, so this is part of it. We can dialogue briefly and go to, I see your hand up too. You're disagreeing, you're thinking we should keep it open space and keep it separate?
I don't think that everything
Okay, so then,
Because people are here.
I don't know. Maybe after the group meets and we speak about it, maybe we can toggle some ideas and then decide. I'm not sure if it's environment and conservation. I think it may be a subcategory with underneath or within, or maybe it is the broader topic or label. Not sure. It's not hitting me like that.
that's fair. Yes,
I don't know. I was going to kind of go along with what was just suggested. I see an enormous resource in the fact that we have the EPA designated as a Superfund site. I have done the research. There is millions of dollars available with the EPA's presence in Hyde Park. And it would be foolish for us to pass it by. It has implications for almost every area. So I wanted to advocate, because I've been talking to them a lot about the concept of the EPA.
so advocating to broaden that to environmental and conservation. Okay. Okay. So let me, 1 second, I do want to give space for Laura.
So I'm saying this is for anybody, this is several, right?
Well, no, in one portion, they have input into themselves.
I would add small businesses.
Okay.
Supporting small businesses.
That's good. Yes, absolutely. All right, so that's settled for that. Yes, Janine.
I was going to add art and culture.
Nice.
So we're going to add 2 additional groups. And so businesses as one, and then arts and culture as the other. Thank you. Back to the open space. So then we will leave it, we will make it broad. And so open space is going to be environmental / conservation. And within that, a subset will be open space recreation, okay? And then as Helena said, once we get in there, those who are more leaning towards, more specific can break out if they so choose. Very good. So here's the instructions while they're getting the signs ready. We have facilitators in our midst. I'm going to ask the facilitators to stand up and come forward. Facilitators. Pat, Helena, Bob, Scott. Yes, Scott. Scott is like, yeah, come on, he's amazing. He's been working hard for this. And I keep missing him. Jose. Great, Mimi made it back in time. All of our facilitators. Pat, come on up. You're one of the facilitators.
So here's what we're gonna do. The facilitators have a sheet that they're gonna be using to make sure that we connect, right? So those who are in groups, we're gonna ask you to complete with your name and contact information because we're really needing workers, right? It's great to have ideas, but if we don't have a person to work the idea, we don't achieve the goal. And so in the breakout groups, the facilitator is gonna pass around this sheet. We're asking you to give your current information for you to reach out, and there's a column for you to indicate whether or not you're willing to help do the work, okay? And we hope so. And then we'll be reaching out to you, and at the end of this session, we'll tell you when the next meeting is. Additionally, each facilitator has the list of last year's ideas per the previous groups. They're gonna open up sharing what was shared last year, ask you if there are any, ask you if there are any additional ideas to be added, and then we're gonna prioritize top 2 and then the top 1. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, any questions? Very good. So at this point, I'd love to hand it back over because I know we need to recognize our councilwoman here as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Please give it up for Lakita, a driving force in our community. So we've got our instructions as far as breakout, but I want to take advantage just for a minute that we have another person who is engaged in being a transformative agent in our community. And it's important for us to, if you don't know her, because I use the word leverage. We need to be understanding that we can leverage the assets that we have, and elected officials are assets that we have. So I'm going to ask City Council Mejia just to take a minute to address this group here, and thank you for taking time on a Saturday to join us. Council Mejia.
Thank you. Y'all giving a politician a minute? Y'all are crazy. Y'all cannot give me this mic. No, I will be really respectful of your space. And I just want to thank Jose for sending me a text message and saying, I need you here. So whether it's anybody here in Hyde Park, you already know if you invite me, even if it's an envelope opening, I am there for it. Because that's what we need to do. We need to show up and be in community with the people that you serve so that you can do your job better. And so that's why I'm so incredibly grateful to be here and that you are streaming live because not everybody is able to be here. So they're still engaged in the process, right? And I said this to Marcia maybe 2 years ago, that she was on to something. And that the work that Hyde Park is doing needs to be a model across the city around people-led processes, whether it's development, whether it's community engagement, whether it's racial healing. At the center of this work, you all are building a blueprint that the entire city needs to adopt. This right here, collective power building and defining for yourself what you want to see, is the way we need to go. So I just want to say thank you for creating this space for people to not just dream, but to plan and work collectively to implement. Because we can talk all we want, but at the end of the day, the question always is what are we going to do about it? How are we going to move forward? So putting it in writing is part of the process, but then the implementation is where the accountability comes in. And so you know I'm here for that. I'm an at-large city councilor, so you know I am all over the map. And I love it. I'm not complaining about it, but I do have to go to Mattapan now. But I want you all to know that the notes that are being taken here will be shared with our office, and you know you have a partner in me. So thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to say hello. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you. Picture. Oh my God. This selfie. You can tell the council has experience in the selfie. Right. This. Our apologies, folks. Our apologies. All right. Thank you. All right. So.
And Kiana, Kenya, I just want to say thank you to always you are showing up to every civic association meeting, taking the work back to the city. So I just want to say thank you for your leadership too. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've got our instructions, Lukita. You see the areas that are listed. You've got facilitators. Go to the area that's you were at or you're interested about, the one that you were at. We got 10 minutes to do this. Thank you.
Feel free to take your chairs if you need. You
We're adding one more group, healthcare. So if anyone's concerned about healthcare, we're adding a healthcare group. Businesses, all businesses, please see Scott in the blue over here to my left. Businesses, see Scott.
I just want to say about the healthcare piece, if anybody is interested, we are hoping to build a health and wellness complex in Hyde Park. And that's the work of this group in this corner here. So if you're interested in being a part of that conversation, health and wellness, go to the corner with Alicia, the lady with the black coat and the pink lining. We're going to be over there, health and wellness.
Can I get my sheet?
All right, horticulture.
Right over there in the south container. Oh, dear. Oh, my stuff. All right, groups, we just wanted to inform you that at this point you should be moving over to prioritizing your top two from your list. You should be prioritizing your top two. We'll give you 5 to 7 minutes for that, and then we'll come back for top one. synthesize anything.
Okay, now that you have your top two, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Because Lakita is going to give you some more direction. Your top two? Yes? The top two. How many people found it very, very difficult to get to top two? How many of you have, show of hands, very difficult? All right, that's okay, because remember, your top two is just the two things you think we should have immediacy on. Not that it's gonna go away, it's just gonna be what's gonna be right now, because you can't do everything. So may I have your attention again, please? May I have your attention one more time? Hello, everybody. Hello. 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 I just want your attention for 30 seconds because Lakita is going to give you some more direction about top one. Aren't you, Lakita? Yes, she is. May I have your attention, please, everybody? This way, please. We thank you so much because we want to get you out of here. So if you're not able to hear us give you directions, you're going to be spinning your wheels, I think, in the next few minutes. So listen to us for a second. Here's your direction for next top one. Yeah.
So some of you have already identified your top one, but at this point, we just wanted to make sure you've identified your top two and then move on to your top one. But if you've already identified your top one, we want to give you 5 more minutes. Here we go. Exactly. We want to give you 5 more minutes to make sure we have the sign-in sheets per group completed, right? Everybody's contact information and whether or not you're willing to work. This is for those who've already identified their top one. If you have not identified your top one yet, you're getting 5 more minutes to do so. All right, set the timer now. And then if you've already completed all of that, you can start with your action steps
all that you need to do that leads into accomplishing your number one. I keep hearing Spanish and I'm like,
Yeah. Are we about to start?
we have a couple minutes left.
All right, I think I'm ready. This is the real estate and development team. Hyde Parkers working together to come up with the future of their community. Beautiful. It's our group, Arts and Culture Group. Hey.
2 minutes remaining.
They're doing the work. Hey, Janice. Christina. Hey. Which group is this?
Business group, oh, I like this group. Where the arts and culture. But it's very similar. That's it's time. All right, guys, it is time to
All right, we are ready to regather, but before we do, we want to make sure that we're clear in these groups, that we have contact information, people are committed to doing the work, and if possible, you can identify who's going to be a facilitator, 2 people who be willing to be the person who reaches out to the group to keep the work, start moving the work along. We need people to commit from each group. 2 people who would be willing to commit to help facilitate that group. So what does a commitment involve? We have quarterly community input board meetings, where you would report out for your group the work that you've done in the last 3 months. That's the commitment, to do the work at whatever cadence that your group agrees to, and then you're reporting out on a quarterly basis. All right, I'll give you 1 or 2 more minutes. Looks like y'all still engaged. Just want to make sure we get this. A couple groups needed to finish off their sheets, so we're giving another minute or 2 for that. Please be prepared for report outs in 2 minutes. Report outs from each group in 2 minutes. Thank you. Time. Time to report out. All right. Am I missing any sheets? Yeah. Okay. Who's willing to work in the groups? All right, we're calling everybody back. We need to report out. Please decide who amongst your group is going to report out for your group. All right, make sure you all have identified who's going to help facilitate the group, who's working, and more immediately, who's going to report out. I know it's getting late, everybody. Can I get everybody's attention? Hey, can I get your attention? Thank you. All right. So we just want to spend a moment just to hear what was the priority one that came from each group. The priority one that came from each group. So we want to report out. All right. So we want to hand the mic around and we want to get these sheets. Please hand me your sheets. So let's start here. I'm back here in the back. Let's start right here with health and wellness. Whoever's going to report out the number one and give a brief explanation. Brief. No more than 60 seconds as to why that is your number one that you all decided upon. Health and wellness.
Our number one? Our number one priority under health and wellness is a public health center in this community. I think what we shared was we think about all the other surrounding communities and all the other surrounding communities of Hyde Park have a public health center, and I think it was really evident during COVID how we all had to go outside of our community for testing, for vaccines, and any other health complications. So this was our number one priority. Our number two was still at rock, paper, scissors. So, all
right. Thank you for health and wellness. Next, we have arts and culture. And please introduce yourselves too, because Alina, we know you. What's your name?
Helena.
And who's in the team?
Bernadette. Yes.
And
Alicia.
Alicia. Thank you. Arts and culture now we're moving to. Who's reporting out for arts and culture? Please introduce yourself. And your team name.
Hi, my name is Tina. And who was on my team?
Marlon.
All right. And Tamara. And we had arts and culture. And our number one was more creative spaces in the Arts and Cultural Center. And our number two was culturally generated revenue, i.e., jobs and training in the arts and culture perspective, or in that space. Basically, what Marlon is doing, training for camera work, teaching people how to do the technical aspects of that, creating more jobs. So that was our number one and our number two.
This is great. All right, now we're walking up here to real estate development and housing, affordable housing.
Hi, everybody. Mimi Turchinets. So our first priority was development without displacement, and our second priority was Hyde Park Master Plan. We voted on development without displacement as our first goal, and then we identified key things to do, educate ourselves on the issues, continue to do teach-ins and community meetings around these things, create criteria around we plant our flag around what is important so that we don't have displacement. So things like 1/3 low, 1/3 moderate, 1/3 market, or no clear cutting, or affordable home ownership. What would that criteria be that we could agree to as the community input board when developers try to come into the community? And then we said that this should be a committee of the community input board. We should identify key leaders to join this committee, including Main Streets, Board of Trade, neighborhood associations, and meet quarterly, so that we, in fact, do see this as a major priority of the community input board, and we do as much as we can to bring real inclusivity and participation.
Great. Awesome. And so that's affecting policy, obviously, at that level, and trickling down. Very good.
We only got to list our number one.
Sure.
So for our number two, we were still undecided as to whether we would emphasize the need for more local and walkable resources. And I think this is kind of intersected with arts and culture, because one dream of mine is to have something like a bookstore cafe that's local, that's, Black owned, that, has, can bring authors for book talks, can, provide a really wonderful educational opportunity for the community in many ways. But, but also another sort of top issue that we wanted to address was the need for a teen center, a place where young people can come and socialize and meet with each other and congregate, a place that's their own. But overall, I think just greater walkability to local resources. We spend a lot of time leaving Hyde Park to access so many things, and I think we have an opportunity to bring more things to our own community. So that was number two.
All right, thank you. Very good. All right, let me get down here, back the other way. Youth and families. Who's reporting out for youth and families?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Valerie Peoples. We wanted to be intentional about focusing on the youth in not only in our community, but all over the city of Boston. And so we're hoping to create a youth summit and collaborating with the Boston City Youth Council to create a program for the youth by the youth, where they can talk about, it's important for us to meet the children where they are, right, and come into their lives. We often offer them to come into our world, but we need to go into the children's world and meet them where they're at. And so create a summit for the children, by the children, and as she mentioned, create some sort of like a teen center, intentional for the children to come in and to have a safe space where they can come in. And not every kid wants to play the sport. Some kids like to play chess, some kids like to sew, and just to create an environment for the children. And
All right, now we're coming over here to the Environment and Conservation Group. All right.
I think we should end where we started. Jose, you reminded us that we stand on the land that belonged to Indigenous people. I will in a moment. But I do think it's important. I appreciated that you called on the ancestors. I was at a program last night of theater where we called on the ancestors from Zimbabwe to reside in our bodies and our souls. We are communal people. So it's not surprising to me that we're ending here, because we have to think about the land we're on. We can't get these things done without an environment that's supportive of our well-being, physical well-being. So like another committee, I think on housing, we're kind of tired of the piecemeal plans. We would like to have a long-term environmental plan that looks at open spaces as well as all green spaces, and blue spaces, I'll say. And that would constitute something in the form of a Hyde Park Master Plan Subcommittee, Mimi, on environmental development and conservation. Because I'm a resident of 34, 37 years, whatever it is, of Hyde Park. I've lost 13 trees just around my home, all by myself. We do believe that the city has a process that they're launching about a design plan. I got an email about it, so I believe, I don't have the notes, but I know one of the things we want to do initially is start doing a little research. What's that design plan all about? How do we engage with both city and state officials around a general, just digging into the research about the current environmental status here in Hyde Park. Then both James and I agreed to continue to communicate with the rest of our committee. I did have their names, and I'm going to try to call them out because affirming people is massively important. So Pat facilitated our meeting. James is here. Joan is here. We found some commonalities right away. Ashlyn and I'm going to call him Alexander. They've become my buddies already. They were the EPA, and I'm Marilyn Smith Parkhoot. So I'm excited to take on this initial facilitation. And then because we don't know who else may operate in this space and bring assets that we're not aware of, so to strengthen our group. But I'll help us get started. Thank you all.
Right. And now we're going over there to business. Woo-hoo.
over the last 20 some years. And I think it's really important that the neighborhood reflects the views and their interests in terms of businesses like our